What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. I thought that now would be a very good time to revisit the topic of the best Pokemon that you would want to lucky trade. And the reason for that is because of the lunar event that will be out in January 24th to February 3rd. And one specific feature for this event is that there is going to be increased chances of becoming lucky friends and also getting lucky Pokemon from trades. So number one, getting lucky friends, and number two, just an increased rate of getting lucky trades, just going back and forth with some of your friends. So I thought, hey, let's go ahead and take a look at the top 10, and I broke this down into two different lists. Number one is going to be kind of like those legendary Pokemon. Unfortunately, those will count as a special trade, which you can only do once a day, but it is very important because they are expensive. And then on the second side, I did want to include some non-legendaries as well, but for some reason or another, it would make a lot of sense to get them as luckies. For example, if they're raid locked, if they're egg locked, if they're rare, you know, that type of thing. So we've got 10 in total. Very excited about this. If you do enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's go ahead and start this list off with the non-legendary Pokemon. The first Pokemon that I wanted to talk about is Kendalor. So the reason why I selected Kendalor for this list really boils down to three different reasons. The first one is that this Pokemon is amazing. It is pretty much neck and neck with Lucario. The second reason is that unfortunately at this point in time, you've got the pre-evolution Timber being available in raids, for example, so that means the best case scenario is that you're going to get the pre-evolution of this Pokemon at level 25. And what that says to me is it's going to require an investment to power it up. So what's going to be the best way to, of course, save yourself some of that precious Stardust? To get yourself a guaranteed lucky trade, or at least try to get lucky trades since they will be boosted. I think Kendalor makes a lot of sense as a Pokemon in that way. And then the third and final reason is because this Pokemon got under that new rule where it requires 200 candy to evolve it from the middle evolution up to Kendalor unless you trade the Pokemon. So I think people are already doing this, but during the lunar event, for example, where we get those increased chances of lucky trades, I think that Timber, for example, is going to be one of the top Pokemon that people start trading, and I honestly think that Kendalor is going to be worth it as a fighting type attacker. So similarly on the list, it is going to be Lucario. If you don't have access to Kendalor, hopefully someone has access to Lucario. So Lucario is going to end up suffering from some of the kind of same issues where its pre-evolution is locked into eggs, for example, meaning that you're not going to be able to get that Pokemon above level 20, which once again means an investment, but this Pokemon is absolutely worth it. It is the best fighting type attacker. It edges out Kendalor in a lot of ways, but it is going to require an investment, and it's a little bit on the rare side if you are not a person who, of course, hatches eggs. So it's worth it, it's just rare, and I honestly think that you should be asking people for a Riolu, for example, and trying to get yourself a lucky version of it, build up that candy, and then of course go ahead and evolve up to Lucario. You will not be disappointed, and having a lucky along with it will definitely help in relation to saving some Stardust. The next Pokemon that we have on the list is Metagross. Now, the reason why I put Metagross on this list is because of just how dominant this Pokemon is, and I honestly think it's going to hold the number one spot from the Steel typing for a very long period of time. The caveat to this Pokemon is that for Metagross, it really needs to be a Meteor Mash Metagross. It has to be, at least as far as this list is concerned. It dominates from that Steel typing. It will not be beat by another Pokemon. It is a very good generalist. And for me personally, I think that it is going to be one of the better community day Pokemon that you would want to have. So definitely excited about Metagross. Up next, we've got Garchomp. Now, the reason why I decided to put Garchomp on this list, it may come as a little bit of a surprise, but it really has to do with the rarity in a lot of ways. For me, I've had a couple of Gibbles, but I haven't managed to get any through a lucky trade or anything like that, so I've just been kind of holding off on my candies. I do have enough to get a Garchomp. I just haven't gotten one that has been worth it. I do think it would make a lot of sense to maybe dedicate a lucky trade. Hopefully someone has hatched from an egg, or even better, caught one in the wild. I would personally be very excited about it. This Pokemon is great from the dragon typing. It's also good from the ground typing as well. It's a very rare Pokemon, and I think that this event should highlight the usability and how people should end up using a Garchomp I think a lot of people will want to do it, so I wanted to put it on the list. Up next is Darmanitan. So Darmanitan is going to be a new one to this list, and I just covered a deep dive on. If you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. Darmanitan is a beast from the fire typing. It's also going to be along with the lunar event as well, and its pre-evolution is going to be coming from 7-kilometer eggs. And so once again, because of that, that means to me it is an investment because it is egg locked. Now trust me, I don't agree with it, I don't like it, I don't want Niantic doing that type of thing, but unfortunately that's the route that they're going, and because it is egg locked, you're going to have to invest in this Pokemon, but luckily it is worth it. At the same time, you would love to get yourself a lucky trade to, of course, save as much Stardust as possible. But once again, Darmanitan, welcome to this list. Not a lot of people have talked about it, but I think they will realize soon enough how amazing Darmanitan is. So let's go ahead and move on to some legendary Pokemon. Now, just keep in mind, when we talk about legendaries, they are unfortunately going to get that special trade automatically. Some of the other ones, if you want to go shiny, by all means do it. Just keep in mind, you get one per day. But anyways, Rayquaza is a beast from a dragon type attacker. You don't necessarily have to worry about specific moves. It would be nice to have the correct moves, but at the same time, it doesn't have any type of exclusive move. So at the end of the day, the worst case scenario is you just use a bunch of TMs to finally get over to Dragon Tail and Outrage, and cross your fingers, you can just get it on the first try. But anyways, I got myself a lucky Rayquaza, very excited about that. I think it's a solid investment once you can do that and save yourself some Stardust, like I've been saying so many times throughout this video. Up next is Kyogre. So I've officially been a supporter of Kyogre because of the update to the moveset that Kyogre ended up getting, and that is the inclusion of the move Surf. It is not an exclusive move or anything like that, so just get yourself a Kyogre, TM over to Surf. But Kyogre is officially the Water King again. It is the #1 water type attacker. It is worth it as a legendary Pokemon to get to that #1 spot. It has officially thrown Kingler out of the way. Honestly, Kyogre is at the top of my list. I already have a couple of them, but I would definitely want another one, and I would highly recommend you to focus on a Kyogre, especially because it doesn't have an exclusive Community Day move or anything exclusive like that. You just got to get it. It is amazing. Up next is Garrity Origin Form. So this may come as a little bit of a surprise, but as far as ghost type attackers are concerned, I did want to put Gengar on this list. I did want to put Chandelure on this list. But to be honest, with those two Pokemon, you could probably, especially with Gengar and like Ghastly, you could just do a bunch of trades and just hope you get it, because now Shadow Claw is available in the regular moveset. So I think you should just mass trade a bunch of Ghastlys if you have them. Do not use your lucky or your guaranteed lucky trade or anything like that on a Ghastly, for example. And then with Chandelure, it's definitely rare, it's definitely amazing. I wanted to put it on the list, but because it can be found in the wild up to level 35, I decided not to put it on this list, but it is definitely a huge contender. Giratina Origin Form is also a solid option from the ghost typing. It is considered to be the alternative option to all of those glass cannons, where it does act a little bit tankier, and it does get a very good performance, of course, from that ghost typing. So definitely consider Giratina Origin Form. A little bit on the weaker side on this list, though. Now we've got Moltres. Now Moltres, in this case, it is going to be a specific instance. There is a lot of competition coming from that fire style. We already mentioned Darmanitan, for example, but we do have some other legendaries coming out, and then even a non-legendary Pokemon like Volcarona coming out as well. But what I want to recommend you to get is an exclusive move, so it is a very rare Pokemon to some extent. You don't have to worry about the shiny in this case, but getting yourself a Sky Attack Moltres is definitely worth it. Try to get yourself a Sky Attack Moltres, and you won't regret it. I have one. I have enjoyed it. I have used it multiple times for different raids and stuff. It is a beast of a Pokemon, especially from the flying type, and it's also like top 3 from the fire typing as well, so you get a lot of flexibility out of it, and definitely something to be excited about. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next Pokemon, the last and final one. I think this is the most predictable one on this list, and that is going to be Mewtwo. Doesn't necessarily have to be shiny or anything like that, but what you do want is a Psystrike Mewtwo. This Pokemon is a beast. It is the #1 Pokemon from the Psychic typing with this moveset, without this moveset. But because it is an exclusive move, I think you should prioritize it, of course, as a special trade of the day. If you don't have Mewtwo and you can't find anyone with Psystrike, yeah, you could go with one and just TM over to Psychic, but Psystrike is so much better. Long term, I think it would make a lot of sense to, of course, have this Pokemon specifically with Psystrike, and it is easily the, well, easiest decision to make for this Pokemon, of course, adding it to this list. So that just about wraps up the video. I, of course, would love to know what you think about this list. And of course, let me know if there's a Pokemon that you think I missed. Whatever it is, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.